Today we got the sub 18-minute TOA. This is a feared combat achievement. Why is it feared? Not because it's difficult, but because you need to get 7 other human beings that have the required gear, the required brain power, and quite frankly, you need them to be able to send the run a couple of times. It's not a one and done type of combat achievement. So today I'm going to try to commentate. I'm going to say what's going through my head. And hopefully, if you're thinking about doing this combat achievement, you can have a little bit of a, how do I say this? You'll have like an idea of what you're getting into. Because the first time you do this, your head is going to be so lost and you're going to have no idea what you're doing. Hopefully you'll have someone that has done the combat achievement before and they will be able to kind of coach you / guide you through it. So let's start with Zabak. Guys, one thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing spellbook swap. So you're going to have both Vengeance from Lunars as well as Thralls from the Arceus spellbook. So that's why everyone's HP is kind of low, or at least should be low. You're going to take as many Venges as you can off prayer or whatnot. And the other thing that you need to understand before doing this combat achievement is that people will have specific roles. So for example, there is a Red Karis role, and there's also a Red Karis backup role. And it's pretty obvious why we have Red Karis roles, but you have to be somewhat coordinated, and I highly recommend you do this combat achievement in Discord, because when the Red Karis specs, that's when everybody needs to follow up and use their ZCB specials. And each room sort of has a procedure, and the legend himself, Mulgoat Kirby, kind of like owns this combat achievement. Whenever you send this, you're going to be looking at his chart, and I believe he created it. So yeah, you'll have a Red Karis roll, a backup Red Karis roll. You'll have a BGS roll. You'll have a left puzzle roll. You'll have a right puzzle roll. You'll have a swarm roll. Everybody has a role. And what makes this combat achievement difficult is that you need to learn your role. You don't need to be perfect at your role, but you need to get it down at least to a proficient level. So ideally, if you're going to try to get this combat achievement, get a solid group of team, a solid group of guys or whatnot, and you're going to need to run it a couple of times because it's going to take a few runs to kind of understand what you need to do for your role. So we're entering Kefri, and the protocol here is everyone's going to tank 2 Venges off prayer. So you'll see that everyone does it except for me because I'm leeching as always. So that's 1, and then no one should be moving. 2. The other thing that happens on the beginning of Kefri is everyone's going to do a Fang auto attack, and then everyone's going to ZCB. Same reason as every other boss, because that's when the Red Karis will, spec. So it's very standardized. Now here you'll see that we're doing, that I am sipping 3 doses of brew, and then I am now sipping back up to full combat. And there's a reason for this. It's because it's not the limiting, I don't even know how to say it, but like in chemistry, there's something called the limiting reactant, right? And basically, because
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
The limiting thing is not going to be your damage, then you're allowed to brew up, and you can actually kind of like get more HP and you can cast vengeances.
So I just literally made no sense there. But yeah, you're going to brew up so you can take more venges. So now the melee comes out and the major comes out. And the protocol here is that you're going to do like 3 Fang attacks into the melee, and then you're going to hop onto the major. And it's the same thing. You're going to be having 2 guys that are primarily and solely focusing on the swarms. You don't want Kefri to heal, obviously. This is a speed run. So immediately we proc it to its HP part. And now, same thing. You're going to do 1 Fang. My Red Karis guy just spec'd. And then you throw the ZCB. Unfortunately, I missed, but that's okay. And that thing goes by like the snap of a finger because everyone should be venged. And if everyone tanks their venges, it's like a couple hundred damage just in the snap of my finger. So next we'll take power. You drop your remaining brew dose and restore, and as well as super combat now that you have the salts. And here you're supposed to have like specific puzzle role solvers, but it's kind of hectic, and you kind of just, if you see something that can be done, then you take it over. So that guy snatched the mirror out of my hands, which I'm okay with. And I think we get the one down. Yeah, we definitely do. So at this point, people should be taking out their salts. They need to get their blue pot into their inventory. And you also want to be doing your spellbook swap. That way you can use thralls. So I leave a little bit early here because I believe I was assigned the butterfly role. And so it's important that I get into the room first and I'm not waiting, taking things out of my pouch and whatnot. But I believe the aggro switches, so not ideal. And maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not the Akkha butterflyer, so that's fine. Anyways, so this room also has very special protocols. As you see, everyone should be DD'd on the tile I'm on, except for the red Karis role, which is the guy right by the shadow. So as soon as the red Karis, then everyone's going to throw in their ZCB. And as you see, the shadow dies like instantaneously. So it's kind of cool when everyone comes together and you kind of nerd out a little bit, and it just goes really well. So same thing, everyone should be on my tile except for the red characters. Switch to the ZCB and it should be basically instantly dead. Now after this, I'm trying to ping tiles for my team, and we all are supposed to move here. I've done this 3 times now, so I kind of know what to do, and I'm trying my best to kind of, lead the team to the well, right? So yeah, it's not going too bad. We get a puzzle memory skip thingy here, which I think it goes fine. Now, something that you want to know about tanking Akkha is that there's multiple reasons why he chooses who he chooses to tank. And those 2 main things are proximity, so how close you are to Akkha, as well as defense. So if you like throw on your Torva top and Torva bottom or whatever they're called, then Akkha will have a higher chance of choosing you as the tank. Kind of a fun fact that maybe not a lot of people know. So look at that, more red Karis ZCB action. And unfortunately he missed, but not the end of the world. So I'm pinging this tile because what happens is now everyone's going to move up there when Akkha's low, and we're going to try to like venge bomb him. And he's basically dead, so it doesn't really matter. But, it's the thought that counts, right? That's what they say. So here, we're trying to kill Akkha. Same thing, red Karis. As you saw, I had that nice 70 Fang spec, which is kind of crazy, but pretty sick. And yeah, not too bad. No deaths. It's definitely important that you're not dying. I mean, it's a speedrun. Let's say some more obvious things, am I right? So this room can be tricky. And there's also another technique that we use here. And you know how when you do TOA, you usually have like that DD tile that everyone goes to on the corruption puzzle solver or whatever it's called? Yeah, so everyone wants to be in their own quadrant of the room. And that way you can kind of focus on the spawns on your side. So you'll see me kind of shooting across the room, but I will primarily stay within my quadrant. And this will also allow for you to use your potion on your partner rather than running halfway across the room and DDing on a somewhat arbitrary tile that is kind of just agreed upon. So yeah, this is much more efficient, but obviously you're not going to do this in like free-for-alls. Maybe you'll do it in small teams with your friends. I mostly do free-for-alls if I do TOA, but yeah, that's kind of the strategy for this. So I should probably be using a Void Waker spec here, just to kill these melees a little bit quicker. And I'm throwing by using melee on him. I should be using, nice, I get my rigger on. I tank a little Avenge there actually, that's kind of funny. And our pacing right now is actually pretty decent. You really want to get out of Baba by like 13, like low 13s. That's kind of the ideal speed. That's what you're looking for. And I say this in my other speed runs, but like these times they're somewhat arbitrary because sometimes a team is better at a specific room. So you can make up time at, let's say, Wardens, and maybe you have a slow, let's say a slow Kefri puzzle, right? So obviously these are just, the thresholds that, you kind of want to follow, but not super important. So next we are heading into Baba, and the protocol here will be a ZCB spec into a ZCB auto. And the reason for this is because we want to be doing a ZCB spec every phase, and we do this in order to skip the boulder, right? We don't want to be brewing and running around the room. We want him to skip that phase as quick as we can. And I'm trying to ping this tile because you want to do a boulder skip. You turn off gap, and hopefully people will run through it first way. So most of my team gets it. A couple guys miss it, which is okay. Sorry if I'm talking super fast. These things are kind of hectic, and it is a lot to cover, so I'm trying to do my best. So same thing, another ZCB. Hopefully going to skip that boulder attack. That way we do not have to run to the sides of the room. You really want to drag him down to the bottom. That way you are stunned for a minimal amount of time. As you can see, you basically regain control of your player pretty close to instantaneously. One shot into the skip. And we have one guy who is left for dead. He was too busy sharing pie recipes with his friend. He said, dude, I want apple pie. And obviously the better answer is that we want pumpkin pie, because pumpkin pie is the best pie flavor. I get a nice little Void Waker, a huge 26, and we're off to the races. So we're actually doing quite well on time. We're going to start Wardens at around 13 minutes, which is ideal. So you can take either life or you can take power again. I recommend taking life. You don't want to die. And it's really nice to tank a bunch of venges off prayer for P2 at Wardens. So that's the reason I take life. Here, you're going to use a double ZCB spec. And as you see, my blue sip is still at 30 seconds. It carries over from Baba. So that's some nice tech. I know people love that word, tech, right? So yep, Obelisk kind of zooms by. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, there's nothing really to cover on P1. People do their red Karis, and I think someone chucks a BGS into it. But yeah, it kind of flies when 8 people have shadows, and ideally everyone has a ZCB, but if you don't have a ZCB, don't let that stop you. You can usually do the red Karis roll or the BGS roll. Yeah. So P1, I should be tanking my Venges. Nice. Everyone tank Venges. Nice. Get my second Venge up. I take a 4 and a 2, which is kind of unlucky, but it is what it is. Now, we don't have any DDS. Well, we might have one person with the DDS, but you don't really need it, because if everybody attacks, if the majority of the team attacks on the first tick and gets the optimal amount of attacks in, comboed with the red Karis, it will normally be a 2 down, which is definitely that's the optimal way to get the time. You don't want to do a 3 down. Say more that you already know, right? Okay. 39 off prayer with the Venge, pretty clean. And time's still looking pretty good. 14:35. He's down. Get that first attack. Nice. So the next thing that's kind of interesting is there's a specific order that you want to attack the skulls. And in junction with that, if your name, for example, my name is on the left side of the orbs, right? Says me on the left side. So I'm going to be responsible for the left side of the skulls. And the same thing with the people on the right. They're going to be responsible for the right side. And ideally, we're killing the skulls pretty instantaneously, not, running around like a bunch of monkeys. And yeah, I forget if it goes smoothly. This happened a couple weeks ago, so I don't remember it super well. The other thing is, make sure you're getting the optimal amount of attacks. If you follow Wardens based off of when his earthquake move goes, you're gonna miss ticks. So sometimes you're going to have to be, you're going to have to stay on some tiles for longer than 5 ticks. Sometimes it's going to be shorter. It's kind of sporadic. So yeah, scolds went pretty well. You also want to be at the front of the room. And the reason for this is because there is a projectile time. So the further you are from a boss, the longer it takes for your projectile to actually register. And so I believe standing 1 tile away from Wardens actually saves almost 15 seconds. And the reason for this is because Wardens essentially dies like 4 or 5 times throughout the fight, right? Every time the skulls are activated, he's quote unquote dying, right? I'm doing my air quotes again that you can't see, but he's quote unquote dying. So yeah, that's why you'll see like in speed runs, people will always move up to the boss. They'll be like 1 tile away because they want that minimal travel time of their projectile. So same protocol, everyone should be running up to the front. I sip an ambrosia because I don't want to risk dying, and I take a little bit of damage. Looking pretty good. We have 1 minute to spare and 1 more skull, and then we're on to the enraged phase. So at this point, as long as no one dies, we should have it. Looks like my ZCB spec is back up. You know, it's important that you're not missing ticks when you're doing your ZCB switch. I definitely miss some ticks here and there, but I'm not perfect. So do your best. Try not to miss ticks switching to your ZCB special. And if you need to reduce the amount of switches, then that's okay. It's not optimal, but it's better than missing 3 or 4 ticks. At that point, just camp the Mage's Ring and just do Mage. So let's see. How's my ZCB switch? Yeah, I probably missed a tick or 2, but and I'm basically chanced. I'm basically throwing, but somehow I miraculously get the white sip off, and we're at 17:53. Will we get it? Yeah, we get it. 6 seconds to spare, and this is actually my PB. So I've done this 3 times, and each time they've been 5 seconds within the 18-minute time limit. So it can be kind of tricky. And of course, I got to look at the scoreboard, and I mean, your boy's on top, right? We always stay on top. I ain't gonna be no gazelle. I ain't gonna be no bottom feeder. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. Sorry if I'm annoying. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to do this, hop into the CA Discord. That's gonna be your best place. Yeah, don't give up. It might take a couple of attempts, probably a day or 2. It can be kind of tricky. So don't give up. See you later. Peace out.